G'day everyone. Proud to say Bar Karate is brought to you by Radix Nutrition, makers of the most technically comprehensive nutrition products that have ever existed. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with two idiots. First off, let's bring in Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
BP.
Bit of a laugh from the guest there. Hey, this weather has not let up. North Atlantic lows swinging by my front yard.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely stinking out. I was just telling the boys off air that the windows, she's got a bit of a leak in the old windows, so it's got it kind of fun.
Yeah, you're into it. I was talking
absolutely stinking here in Portugal.
Bloke in London last night, and he was just saying it was hammering them. So, Well, let's bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a
where in the world he is.
purr.
On, mate. I'm on the home deck. The 2 weeks a year I get home.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth, I haven't even thought of a bit of an intro. I was a bit too excited about our guest today, having been a bit of an ex-sparring partner and done a few miles with. So could be interesting where this conversation does go. Yep. It kind of feels as though this conversation should actually be held in not a golf club, fuck. In a yacht club bar live because
could be held in a golf club.
Could get a little bit loose. Well, that was the last time we had a little beer together. Was actually at the Live Golf Tour.
Oh, that
Adelaide.
Weekend.
So yeah,
that explains everything.
Exactly.
So with that intro, Bice, you're exactly right. This would be a perfect guest to do live at a yacht club with a few beers, and yet now we're recording at the moment 7:30 a.m. for most of us on a Friday morning. So
I'm still Euro time, so I'm on the cocktails. Don't worry about that.
Yes, 10 to 11 here.
Yeah.
All good. Let's rock.
Okay, cool. Our guest this week is definitely a brand or a person that you would know, certainly a name that everyone sort of has known. He's been in the world of sailing. I can remember him back in, was it 1990? Sailing with Nigel Abbott and FDs in Newport. And he has had a range of boats, most famously boats called the Wild Thing. We saw some footage of the boat he'd been racing the last couple of years, Stefan Racing, and Botin 80 used to be Beaugest, coming out of the shed, getting flipped over, and instead of being 80 foot long, she was 100 foot long. Cutting and shutting boats is something this guy is not scared to do. Owner and has won the Hobart, won a bunch of things, and is not scared to have a dig. Is probably the best. That will be his epitaph on his grave. Not scared to have a dig. Welcome to Bar Karate, Grant Wharington. How are you, mate?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on, boys.
Well,
and just for the listener, given the medium of a podcast is listening, what people can't see is we're literally in the shed where Stefan Racing has been flipped back over. We'll do a bit of a tour around, an explanatory tour a little bit later. But, mate, you're the lone soldier there at the moment. Just talk us through the last 24 hours and what led to this.
Yeah, I am Bicey on my own this morning. It's normally we'd be up and running by about 6:30, but we didn't finish till 9 o'clock last night. It was a bit of a late laminating job, and we had to finish a couple of bulkheads that we've got to put in the transom at the last minute. They weren't on the original design, but we're just finalising our compliance through GL, as you have to for the Sydney to Hobart race, of course, and we decided to move our Traveller to the very back of the boat. Comanche's got their main sheet Traveller at the back of the boat, right on the transom, and because, of course, their setup, unlike everyone before them, was the rig and the keel was a long way further forward. So we've kind of had a similar issue. We've got quite a beamy boat that was a little bit nosy, so we're like, we need to put more buoyancy in front of the mast. So we when we put 6.5 tons of main sheet load on the transom, all of a sudden the new 2 metre bit that we stuck on was trying to peel off. So we thought, okay, better make sure that's strong enough, put a few more frames in.
I don't want to be 100. I want to go back to 80.
That's it, exactly.
So just for the listeners, as Jordan did touch on, Bogest is an old 80 footer. It's been extended to 100 and renamed Wild Thing. So getting ready for this year's Hobart. You've got a bit on, but it's getting there, right?
Yeah, it is getting there. We have only had sort of 3 or 4 guys on the job pretty much since June, so we haven't had a big team, but it's going really well. We're in the closing stages now. The fairing crew are in today, so they've got 2 weeks of fairing and painting, and the boat will roll out of the shed first week of, or the start of the second week of November, actually. Because we've got a new engine to put in after the painting's done, and but it's going really well. It's you might remember 2000 when we put a new bow on the old Wild Thing, and that sort of went in the shed at 70 feet and came in at 83. This is another step, coming in at 80 and going out at 100.
Yeah.
And a bit more major, boats like Blackjack and Wild Oats have had a new bow put on where they cut off 5 metres or 6 metres from the front and just add a whole new bow on. We actually had the luxury of, because we had quite a beamy boat with straight sides at the back and quite a full bow, we were able to work out the geometry so we could cut the boat off at 10 metres, which was just in front of the dagger boards, move that section forwards and then put in a 4 metre infill in between. So that gave us 4 metres in front of the keel. So we weren't messing with the structure of the ring frames for the canting keel or the dagger boards or any of the rigging. It's, I guess, if anything, it's probably the cheapest part of the boat to be able to modify.
I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, and then we added 2 metres on the back. So that was the just to make the cockpit a bit bigger and move the traveller back so we could get a 4 metre longer boom. So basically,
I'm going to say so. Yeah.
Yeah, we got it. Increasing sail area was obviously part of the gig, and we went round and round in circles. You're obviously aware that Scallywags put a new rig in their boat, and they had their old rig, and of course everyone's like, "Oh, just put the Scallywag rig in. It'll be the right size," and blah blah blah. And we had all the analysis done on it by Chris Mitchell from New Zealand, who you probably all know of. Sorry, Bicey, I couldn't use Southern, but Chris is a very well-regarded bloke. I did approach Southern, but they were too busy, so they said go and see Chris, and I've used him before. So Southern were very helpful, I've got to say, Bicey. Give you a little plug there, mate. But
no, well, I've been keeping up to date on everything that's happening. Don't worry about that.
I thought you might. So you just making sure when I ask Jared for a particular drawing, yeah, that's okay. Don't give me any more information.
Give him everything.
Good on you, mate. Thank you. So our rig, just to give you an idea of the difference, our rig's 885 kilograms, and the Scallywag rig's 1.85 tons.
Wow.
So it is, of course, 6 metres taller than ours. But, of course, when you got that much weight difference, if you work out the centre of gravity of an extra ton, 20 metres to leeward, when you yield over at 25 degrees, all of a sudden you need 20-ton metres of riding moment just to hold the rig in the air, let alone putting sails on it and try and tip it over again, right?
Yeah,
so,
we're seeing some big numbers.
Yeah, well, you end up, what do you end up having to do? Put another couple of ton on the bulb. So then you end up with, you go round and round in circles, you go more bulb weight, then your fin's too small, and then your hydraulics are too small, and then your keel frames can't take the extra torsion from the all the structural changes. So we said, okay, why don't we just try for a little lower aspect ratio rig? Yep. And so by moving the boom back to the transom, and the forestay, of course, goes forward the 4 metres because of the bow going forwards, we end up with an upwind sail area that's about 30% bigger than we previously had. So that's a pretty substantial amount. We might have gone a bit more. Another rig that was available was the old rig from, when I say available, of course, everyone would love to buy a new Southern rig, but not everyone's got the $2 million that comes with the order.
2.5. I need my commission.
So we sort of had to work within our budget, and Stefan is no longer with us. So back to the sponsor of Kylie and Grant. So we sort of said, okay, Chris, do this analysis for us on the rig. And he actually said, apart from we get a little bit of a concession downwind, but the upwind, like we're fully powered up at 10 knots instead of 8.3 or something. And I said, mate, I just want to go to Hobart. The 100 footers put a reef in at like 12 knots anyway. So bring on the breeze, I say.
Yeah, well, that's it. Just send it. Like, I mean, the low aspect of the rig also gives you a lot more controllability in the boat. So, whilst you on the numbers, it may look better. You can sail your boat harder by bringing the low aspect rig in, and you get a lot more options with that extra Jace measurement. So you've got a lot more range there that you're going to have, and having the boom further back, there's safety elements too with your traveller behind everyone, like you don't have to step through
but fella, whoa, slow it up.
What?
There's one major rule in yachting.
Yeah.
That it needs to pass.
Yeah.
The shitter rule. Shitter rule. This is a very technical term in, especially at Southern Spas, is the mast height v the boat length.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
Our old friend Spikey was the man of the shitter rule discussion, wasn't he, Bison?
Absolutely. So, but when it's leaning over, it doesn't matter.
But does that shitter rule apply when you're fully planing? Do you just look at the surface that's in the water when you're fully planing, or do you look at the
well within? Well, outside.
I love it.
Don't you worry, Bicey. You're not the first person to quote the shitter rule. Everyone's been throwing it at me, and I just keep saying that's okay. We're just putting our toe in the water this year to see how when they talk about that. No, it's not going to be powerful enough, and blah blah blah. You say, okay, yeah, that's all right, but we're going to have the same riding moment as Wild Oats and Blackjack.
Yep, and
we're going to be 8 tons lighter. And then they kind of do a bit of a double take, and they go, how'd you do that? You go, okay, well, our rig starts off relative to those guys that have got nice new rigs like Blackjack and Oats, say 300 kilos lighter. But because of our form stability from our extra beam, we're 1.2 metres wider than Wild Oats Blackjack. So we don't need as much lead on the bulb. So it'll be really interesting. I mean, look, I'm not saying we're going to come out of the box. We just don't have the preparation time, but we're not going to come out of the box and be, racing against Comanche and Scallywag straight away. But I think there's actually a lot of potential. A couple of years ago, Scallywag started the Hobart race with a reef in. That's the mainsail we will have, actually. So we're getting Whitty's old mainsail because he's got a completely new rig, a new set of sails. So we're going to have that mainsail recut to fit our rig, and so then that's got a 5 metre square top. So we're going to have a really big square top, just as if it's his main with a reef in, and we'll be 7 tons lighter than him. So hopefully it'll be a good package.
It's going to be interesting to watch, that for sure.
Well, we all love a good package. There's no doubt about that. Just while kind of in that, essentially, so mast step staying in the same spot. Yeah. And essentially, so you're adding 4 meters to the bow section, 2 meters aft. So essentially the rig is moved aft that amount, which you're seeing trends of that, like especially in the open 60 world, like the old team, like you just can't get stuff far enough aft, right?
No, that's exactly it. And in fact, where we've ended up, and this is just by chance when we're sort of checking the numbers, our distance from the mast to the transom, therefore mast to the forestay and keel position to the bow, is within couple of 100 mil of Comanche. So, you look at Comanche and the boom's hanging over the transom, ours will be hanging over the transom. And you end up with this great ability to change, as you were saying before, the front, the fore triangle, where you got all these nice rolled up sails that you can change all your options for your gear changes. And also remember, you always end up going, we've got to dump main sheet, when you're reaching and you're starting to sort of do a bit of a tip out, you keep the main sheet on hard, and that's what the difference is. You've got so much, the center of effort's further back. You can actually keep the thing boned up with a nice straight leach, and it just keeps the power on.
I like it.
Pray for a big downwinder, mate.
Exactly. Just another one of last year would do, because for this year I haven't only got one of my kids on board. I got two. So Ollie's coming back for his third Hobart, and Georgie, who she's 21 now. So she said, "Dad, I think I want to do the Hobart this year." I'm like, "Oh, okay." After for the last 10 years being polluted by a mother saying, "You'll never go on, out there. It's all too rough." She's got plenty of ticker, young Georgie. So she's going to do our social media, and because everyone's going to have Starlink this year, so we'll be all streaming the race live, and so it's exciting. Downwind racing, great again.
Barkarati live.
Just back on the sail plan. Essentially, by adding that much to the bow, it's like almost, and then you've got the bow spread as well. What are you doing for shoots?
So I was able to get a Cuban A4 from Comanche. So because our length and the position of the top to the bottom is kind of pretty similar to theirs, it's, of course, theirs is 9 meters too long in the luff. So we're able to just cut it horizontally quite low down where the luff and leach are pretty parallel, and take 9 meters out of it there, move the clue box up a little bit. So look, the shoots are going to be like a number 3 rig on an 18 footer. The foot length's almost the same as the luff length, but we're spending a bit of time on all that design at the moment and just making sure everything works. But there's plenty of good. Of course, I just call it recycling by
mate.
Because I haven't got the $1 billion budget like all the other 100-footer owners, but it's good for recycling. It's good for the environment. Don't throw your old stuff in the bin.
Absolutely.
Sustainability. Sustainability. That's what we're all about here at Barkarati. Love it.
It's just like the reverse of what you've done to the boat, right? Cut it where it's parallel, extend it. And whereas with the shoots, cut it where it's parallel, reduce it.
Exactly. And, there's plenty of... Fortunately, there's plenty of those wealthy guys in the world that change sail makers every other year. So all their old stuff, even though it might not be old, have got put in the back corner.
Lying around. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, $250,000 for a new Cuban chute, and we pick it up for 8.
Exactly.
10
do the math, listeners.
And a shitload left to make some crew bags.
Exactly. Yeah. There's about 300 square metres coming out, and I've already asked the question whether we can make a boom tent and a couple of sail bags out of it.
I was just trying to think, if you took a 9 metre section out of the sails on one of my boats, it'd be I'd have no sails.
Yeah.
Mate,
to that.
We said it before the show. Well, you've quite well known for doing the cut and shut, and you mentioned the 70-footer originally that got extended to the 83. And I actually remember that Hobart. I was on board for that one when the boat did get extended. So was that the start of the cut and shut, or you kind of delved into it prior to that?
Didn't the 47?
So the 47, back in the day. So the very first Inglis 47, which I launched in 1989, your memory serves you correct. Remember that West Coaster photo that Richard Bennett took?
Yes.
The oldies have still got it in the lounge room.
Yeah,
I was going to say, for those who don't know, look up that photo, the Wild Thing Inglis 47. It is an absolute cracking shot.
I think Richard Bennett rates it as one of his top 3 photos ever taken. It was, you guys would recall, it was on the front cover of Seahorse, pretty much every magazine in the world. Yeah. And so we did 28 knots that day in a 47-footer. And in 1989, nobody thought that was possible. Nobody believed that a big keel boat could plane like that. And that was kind of the start of, this is, obviously there was light displacement boats, Bruce Wharo had them, back in the 70s, but a boat that was actually going to Hobart or, doing the sort of offshore stuff and being able to just have flat water as far as the eye can see out from the transom. So that boat a bit of a head turner designed by Jim Inglis from up on the Gold Coast, who's still around, believe it or not. And that boat I sold after about 18 months. We took it to Hawaii and did the Kenwood Cup in 1990. Then that West Coaster. Then we sold it in 91 and built another one, which we raced for a year, did the West Coaster again, which we won. Did Sydney Hobart in 92 and broke the rig about 30 miles from Tasman Island. So that was a bit nasty. So we went back to the shed and we cut and shut that one. We look, it was only a very simple thing because they had sort of planing boards out the back of the transom. We added about 1 metre onto the back and we moved the rig back about 1 metre as well, made the rig the spreaders a bit more in line. Andy DeVell did all those design mods for me. And that really transformed that boat as well, similar thing, just moving the effective, the keel and bigger jibs, etc. So that was the boat that we won the Melbourne to Osaka race two-handed, Scotty Gilbert and I.
There's a name.
That record stood for 25 years until Rupert Henry broke it a couple of years ago on the Whisper, the 60-footer. So
yeah.
Yeah, and then the next boat was the 70, which we eventually made 83. So the cut and shut's been around for a long time. And you've got to remember, everyone in America's Cup world has been doing it forever.
Oh, mate.
I talked to the guys from 83.
And it's nothing.
Even the tin boats, and they were cutting and, jacking aluminium, just cutting it out with a diamond saw, and welding on new parts. And, Bicey, you would have done that in the IACC boats as well.
Absolutely. I think the rule was you're allowed to modify 49% of the hull.
Well,
so you're seeing these boats like literally cut like a slot out the middle. And I'm partial to the odd cut and shut myself with the pie whacker.
Rainbow.
Back in the day, and the rainbow, of course.
the VB Express.
But just going back a little bit, just going back to the famous Richard Bennett photo, which, as I mentioned, it's still on the wall at home, mum and dad's house down at North Haven, because I remember getting that. And being a little upstart young kid, just my dream, my total dream to sail on one of these boats. And there's Jeremy Ray standing in the pit. You see it as clear as day. And when my mates come around and say, "Oh, no, that was me. I know, Wharo. Don't worry about that." Now I think back about it, and was I 11 doing that?
Well, it was before the over 18 rule came in.
And then, as mentioned at the start, being old sparring partners, but done plenty of time on the ocean with several boats actually, and coming up to our 20-year anniversary, mate, of the win on Scandia.
That's it, yes. And a few great people on board with us that year, Bicey.
Yeah.
That's, we were hoping to be able to do this job last year, but the design work, gets a little bit involved, and we're still waiting on final drawings, actually. The engineering thing's a big deal, and Brett Ellis from Sydney's doing a fantastic job with that. So, we're really appreciative. It's you got to get all this stuff right, I've had too many years of being kicked in the guts at the door of the CYC, not being able to start the race for some reason, if there's a structural issue or a plan not ticked off. And so now it's a bit different. It's a bit more transparent, or it's a bit better. It's not sort of open to conjecture. Basically, you have to get a World Sailing certificate, and that has to be signed off by GL first. So GL have to do the structural analysis. So the engineer does all the drawings. They produce it to GL. GL does an independent check. If they've got any questions, they send it back to the engineer and say, "Oh, look, we disagree here," or "This is okay, but change that." You keep them happy. You get your certificate, and you go to Hobart.
Yeah. So from that point of view, that's actually a good way that the sport's gone. 100%.
It is a big improvement, Bicey. Yeah, absolutely, because we had a nasty situation a few years ago where someone said something and it was a bit of hearsay, and it was actually completely incorrect, and it stopped us from being able to go across the start line. So, no, this is a really good system, and I think we've got about another week. We've got 7 days to get our certificate in, and GL are working on it feverishly at the moment. So they say they're going to have it all done, so it's all good.
Cool.
Go on, boss. Go.
No. So just a quick, where are you exactly? On the river?
I'm at Gold Coast City Marina. No, so at Gold Coast.
Yep.
There's Boat Works and Gold Coast City Marina down here, and they're both incredible facilities. They've spent over 100 million at Boat Works. That's Tony Longhurst's facility up the road. So
yeah.
This is like, it's just a mecca of boating down here. There's just so much going on in every facet of it. But yeah, we're in a super yacht shed here at Gold Coast City Marina, and these are about 1,000 square metres. There's eight of these big sheds, lots of smaller ones, but so we rented this shed for a couple of years because I had another couple of projects on the go, and so it's terrific. Well, the only thing is the rivers, they've dredged it down to about 3.5 CD from here to the seaway. The seaway has now been dredged to 6 metres, so we can get in the seaway at any time. We're 5.5 draft. We can get up to my house, actually, at Paradise Point at a high tide. But we can't assemble the boat up here at Gold Coast City Marina. So we'll put the dagger boards in, put the rudders in, put the boat back in the water with the rig on the deck. And yes, Bicey, the rig will hang over the front and the back of the yacht.
Passes the rule.
Only just, I might say, only just.
There's going to be a bit of single eye squinting to check. You know what I mean?
But we motor it up the inside to River Gate, where the water's nice and deep.
Yep.
Pull it out, put it on the keel, put the rig in, and we've got a berth up there that we use. So we'll do a bit of sailing out of there and head down to Sydney in the first week of December.
It's
awesome, eh?
It's a funny old place to have a 100-footer off Queensland, off Brisbane. You know, like that. Its potential running aground is all over the place there. So you got to be spot on with your navigation, I guess. But are you excited, mate?
I am actually, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. It's sort of it's been very hard work this year, not having enough blokes to sort of give me a hand. Everyone's busy. You know, it's really hard to get people. So, I mean, that's great, but it's not so good if you're trying to find guys to give you a hand. So, anyway, I was sort of between construction projects, so I sort of thought I'd just dedicate my year to doing this job. So, well, since the start of June anyway, since the Sanctuary Cove Boat Show. So I finished a 50-foot centre console that I did for that, and then started this job. So it's been pretty full on, and I'm ready. You know, and my young boat captain, young Theo, who's a terrific young lad from Tassie. He said, I wasn't quite sure I signed up for this job, but he now knows. He thought he'd be, polishing winch drums and cleaning out, traveller cars and bits and pieces, which he started doing, and then he realised he needed to get his hands dirty if we were going to get the boat finished in time. So he's now an expert at vacuum bagging carbon fibre composite products.
Mate, I tell you what, we bang on about the pathways, and I'll tell you what, young Theo, when you're listening to this is no better pathway than what is going on right here, because you'll be prepared for anything going forward. And this is not a derogatory way of looking, but when you're dealing with a shit fight, you know that's everything else is easy.
You're exactly right, Bicey. You've seen it 100 times, and you remember, we all know Casey Smith, what an absolute champion fella. And Casey, I literally walked down to the old green boat when it was still the white boat in Mooloolaba Yacht Club, aged 18. He just finished year 12, and he said, is there any chance I could come for a sail? And I said, yeah, mate, jump on. You know, if it's okay with you. It's okay with your parents. It's okay with me. So that was straight on board the 70 down to Sydney to we went to Auckland. Auckland to Denarau race, and then came back, cut the boat in half, and same thing. He was in the shed for a few months with Turtle doing the carbon work, and then where's Casey Smith? There's nothing that bloke hasn't done, right?
Exactly. So, love it. Bloody good.
Speaking of projects, Wharo, I do my research, coming onto this show, and one of your projects was something called Yacht Club, YOT Club, right? Boys, have you seen Yacht Club?
Oh, mate, my Facebook's filed in it. because I have been known to click on some of the promotional material just to have a bit of a closer look. Not necessarily checking out the lines of the trimaran that the yacht club hosts, or catamaran for that matter. But yeah, no.
But I'm just the point I'm getting to is, given that we've got permission to put the Barcarati barge in the middle of the America's Cup course again, that permission still exists. That sort of thing is quite. It's almost the perfect barge, isn't it? We're just thinking. Well, how do you feel about going to America's Cup and having a good time getting on the piss?
Oh well, yeah. Look, I have now sold. I had a 50% share in that project. And I sold my share in that boat to my partner, David Fisher, who subsequently brought in a few other investors. But it was an absolutely fantastic thing. So you boys would all remember the Race 2000, which was the multi-hull race around the world. That boat was built in Hawaii by an aeronautical engineer. So we're talking 33 metres long, 23 metres wide trimaran.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All built out of fiberglass. The bloke didn't make it to the start line in 2000, unfortunately, and he passed away some years later. And we found it. We were running a charter boat business up here on the Gold Coast, and we found it on Craigslist, which for those of you that don't know, Craigslist is kind of like Gumtree in America, right? So here's this boat, because I'm saying, guys, we need a bigger boat. There's all these blokes that, people that want to do big corporate events. We need something that holds 300, 400 people. So I said, it's got to be like a tennis court. Think tennis court. Anyway, we're Googling around. We find this bloody trimaran. So I jump on the jet, fly over there, and the lady that was the recipient of the asset after the boyfriend had passed away, said, I just need to get it out of my hair. It's costing me, a fortune parked in this yard. And so I sat on a swing mooring in the harbour in Kauai for about 5 years. And then she'd ended up pulling it out of the water, scraping the barnacles off the bottom. And it was starting to cost her a bit of dough. So we bought it off her and we motored it back to Australia. It had a 100 horsepower single engine in the middle hull. 21 days.
Did you have a spare like Tahatsu 5 horsepower just in case?
Well, it was
Seagull.
Really, we were a good time of the year. It was October, November, nor'east trades all the way. Never went upwind. It was just one of those dream deliveries, and few little headaches along the way, as you always have. Like exhaust blew up at one stage and filled the boat with smoke. Everyone thought the boat was on fire, so we had to rebuild that in Fiji, and the autopilot, that caused a bit of grief. But so it was literally just 3 hulls and 2 cross beams. And so there was a couple of beds in the middle hull. There was 3 people on for the delivery. Got it back here, pulled it out of the water. And the same thing, we cut the middle hull in half, cut it off the cross beams, moved it forwards 20 feet, added 20 feet in the middle, built some buoyancy pods for the back because, that thing was only 16 tonnes and we needed to have an ending up weight of over 100 tonnes of buoyancy required. So, when you got 40, there's 400 people and there's 50 crew. So there's, they're all big numbers. So you end up with these big buoyancy pods. We put an engine in each outer hull and the thing motors at 12 knots beautifully. And it's a really successful program and business. Yeah. So I actually started building another one, which I've got parts of it in the factory here. I was going to do one for Sydney for 650 people, but COVID came and I sort of put that project aside while I went and did some other stuff. But that's sort of the next project. But I just want to see how the 100-footer goes first, and we'll go sailing and take a bit of stock.
Mate, I've said this before, and many people have said it before, but I think you probably own this particular saying, Wharo. Bite off more than you can chew and chew like fuck.
Yes, I'm well aware of that one, Bicey, and I am guilty.
Guilty.
Mate, I'm interested with you, because, as we said, we're talking about when you talked about the 47 before, that was 89. I remember you doing the Kenwood Cup. I remember you showing me some video. back in the day, and that was then you did this. You did the FDs with Nigel Abbott. So were you yachting first, and then went into the dinghies just to skill up? Because Nigel was a true legend of our sport.
Nigel still is a legend. Yes, I was sailing all along, right? So I got my first sab, I think, when I was about 6, and then I went into Cherubs at Mornington Yacht Club.
Yeah.
And I sailed Cherubs. You'd remember Robert and Mark Keeley.
Mm-hmm.
I see not remember those names, but so Robert was a writer. He was one of the I think he might have been the editor of Australian Sailing at one stage, and Mark worked with his old man in the mast building factory in Moorabbin. So Mark, we built 2 Cherubs side by side, and I was the world's smallest, 15-year-old, and so we built a false floor in the middle of the Cherub, so I could get across without having to step over the centerboard case. So we did Cherubs. I think we got a second in the state titles in Cherubs, and then I kind of went into keel boats a bit.
Yeah,
did a few deliveries and did a few Melbourne to Devonport races, and then I went back into dinghies to sail with Nigel in the FD. So. And I was absolutely the smallest FD crew in the world.
By miles.
And at the world championships
by miles.
in Newport, Rhode Island. So look, we'd won the state titles and the Australian championships in the FD. Nigel's just a absolute guru sailor, and we were really good in like under 6 knots and over 20, over 15, 16, like everyone's overpowered in an FD over sort of 12 knots. So when it got to be real up-range boat handling, we were fine. But the middle range where most of the racing was tricky. We went to Newport, Rhode Island. In fact, straight after, so Nigel sailed with me on the 47 in Hawaii, 1990.
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to do an Olympic campaign. I think, like all the legends were over there in those days. The McKee boys, Neil McDonald, all these guys I still see today racing. They were in FDs back then as well. Louis Dureste, and unfortunately, that time of the year, September, traditionally is very quiet. You remember America's Cups being held out of Rhode Island, never much wind. It was always a bit of a drift off. So we thought we might have been okay. But no, it was 15 knots every day, and we got absolutely smoked. So, but then as luck would have it, you sort of, I came back and I said to Nigel, mate, you got to find yourself a 6.5 foot. You need a GT size bloke. You got to find a 100-footer, 100 kilo bloke.
A normal sized human.
What you could have done, Wharo, is cut yourself in half.
Yeah,
added a little bit in the middle. Shut.
Added full extension.
You know what, Bossy? We had these specially made back those days. You could wear water ballast tanks on your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wore weight jackets. So they got rid of the lead because they decided that wasn't safe.
Yep. Funny that.
We originally had little lead pockets. No. So we had these special water bags made that went up over my shoulders.
I remember
and around the back of my neck.
Yeah, I remember it.
But the problem was all very well to add the extra 20 kilos around your shoulders, but when you get out on the trapeze, your feet flick vertically off the top side. You got too much weight too high up. So it took quite a bit of technique to figure out how to operate with the extra water bags on the shoulders.
And being a little
very,
fella
very
pulling
funny.
a bloody FD Genoa on in 15 to 20 knots is that's not fun. So
hence the reason my back's not too great these days. But
that's it.
Yeah, a lot of leg work involved in that, and they have the cringles going up the jib, so you can move the sheeting position as you change the rake on those boats. So most boats can't get to the 4th kringle because you end up wanting to twist the sail out. We had a 5th kringle because we ended up putting another one at the front so we could put a reef in the Genoa because, of course, on the FD the jib's the same size as the main, right? They're both 100 square feet, so. Yeah, we used to reef the Genoa. It made it hard to furl though. So anyway, it was a great time back with Big Nige.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the point of it though is that you sort of, you've got all that experience, and so the passion for you is the yachting though. You can tell that, the adventure, that spirit of getting out in the middle of the ocean is sort of where the passion is for you less so than racing around short course stuff?
Oh, look, it's probably equal. You know, like I love doing Volvo and but you know, like one trip around Cape Horn was enough for me. I was just getting a bit soft in my old age. You know, like I think the race I did on D-Juice with Spikey and Billy Merrington and Knocker and those boys. I think that was probably the last race where anyone saw any icebergs.
Yeah.
But it was bloody cold. You know, Bicey, when you're sailing around in 3C water temperature, it just, I'm too old for that shit now. I mean, it's all very well if you're Norwegian or something, but, mate, Gold Coast water temperature, nothing under 20 for me.
Head north in the southern hemisphere, heading south in the northern hemisphere. That's the only way to be done.
That's it. That's the smart thing. But yet you're going to do the Hobart, and everyone knows you always turn left out of Sydney.
Yeah, well unfortunately, it's that race that everyone seems to have to do every bloody year. You remember the great man Roger Hickman once said to me, he said, Wharo, I think, and he was a Tasmanian, right, that had moved up to Sydney. He said, I'm going to try and talk the board into, after the 50th Hobart race, having the next 50 from Hobart to Sydney. I said, Nico, that's a genius idea. I'll back you all the way.
Yeah. It's a genius idea. I love it. But I forgot to ask you, with your new boat, with the return to wild thing, what's the keel? Are you using the same keel, or what's happening there?
Yeah, so good question. The keel fin, we had an analysis done on that by the engineer, and it had a little bit of reserve capacity in terms of weight. So it's 5 ton. Our bulbs was 5 ton, and the analysis showed that well, two things came about. So by going to 100 feet, there's a number that a calculation that most people aren't familiar with called FKR. You guys familiar with FKR? It's the factor for knockdown recovery. Mm-hmm. So it's a calculation that you have to use for water ballasted or canting keeled boats. So it's recovery from capsize when the ballast's on the wrong side, right?
Good side, yep.
So by getting the extra boat length, we end up with additional hull form stability, and that produces a negative FKR. So we needed to increase our bulb weight anyway, just to meet minimum FKR, let alone what we might want for more horsepower. So we had the keel analysed and the hydraulics and all that stuff. And we were told by the designer, one, that we needed 600 kilos more to meet minimum FKR, but two, that the fin was capable of handling another 1.2 tonnes to stay within the GL calculations. So we're going for the extra 1.2 tonnes, and the keel fin hopefully will be all fine, and same with the hydraulics.
I love that word, hopefully.
Yeah, well, it's quite important.
It matters.
Yep, don't we know it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Kids are
right. It's a big one. So will you make the start?
Yeah, we will. We will be in the water second week of November, and then hopefully it's sort of our sales are the next issue. We're just dealing with how we're going to get those recut at the moment, because no one's got lofts big enough these days. Sales are all 300 kilos, so you need hoisting equipment, and it's difficult. So the North boys like selling new sails. They're not as keen on recutting one. So look, whether I might get the North guys to do it, I've just got a proposal from them, and I'm just looking at a couple of other options as well. So it's the mainsail's the big deal. The rest of it's pretty straightforward.
You got to,
but we are buying new sails. We're doing everything with either what we've got or what we could get from either Sail Exchange or other guys that we know, other maxi owners.
Wow. As good as you and the team looked in pink, mate, you're back to the Wild Thing livery.
That's it, yeah.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're excited. And we retained some of the pink anyway, Bicey. So, of course, Kylie and Georgie being involved, we've got to keep some pink. So
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the dick of the day. They wear the pinks, you remember?
Exactly.
In Saint-Tropez.
Oh, Saint-Tropez. gosh.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got a lot of podcasts just in this one guest.
That could be for our Patreons supporters.
I don't know how much the listeners realise we're stepping around stories at the moment. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we won't say that. Yeah. One thing I am interested in, because with you up on the Goldie, you've been doing coaching. You were coaching up there at the yacht club for a while. So I was wondering, are there any kids coming through that program you work with that might end up on the boat?
You know what? I'm sure there are, is the short answer, but that's the short answer because I just haven't been involved. I've been too busy with this stuff this year. I haven't. I was coaching the kids at TSS as well, the Southport school up here, but I've been out of that scene for 3 or 4 years now. So, but I mean, one of the absolute champion sailors, of course, who's in the Australian sailing team, Joel Turner's up here, and Joel did. I believe Joel actually did his first ocean race with us only last year, and we're going down wind 25 knots. Of course, half the crew go, "Oh, it's a nice day out here," but they don't hold their hand up to have a drive. And Joel says, "Oh, I wouldn't mind a steer." I said, "Mate, just step in here, take her away, son." And of course, he's just on the numbers, fastest driver on the boat in 5 minutes. He is an absolute guru. Yeah. So I haven't spoken to Joel this year. I think he sailed with URM last year, but I'd love to have him on the boat. Look, at the end of the day, we sort of got a core crew from last year, mostly Queenslanders, and I just know in the end there's always a lot of people around that you would be very happy to take at the last minute. So Matt Pearce is coming back with us, and Piercey was on Law Connect and Scallywag, and he's helping us out with some stuff as well. So look, there's plenty of good people around. Wild Oats, of course, not doing the race this year, or 11. So there might be a few of those guys, but we'll see. Spicey might want to come back for a cameo for the 20.
Yeah, geez, I'm inspired, Warren.
No, I've got the whole pitch, boys. It's because you got the Starlink. You could run Barkarati from the race on the boat.
Absolutely.
Bring the whole team.
That's it.
Well, I reckon I can see this happening. I can see maybe the three of us, Jordan. You get on board for one. You need to do a Hobart.
I've done Hobart, you little prick.
Come on.
They don't let me go south because I'm too good.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Look after you reckon. Yeah.
All right. We've gone to idiot stage now, Wharo, which is unusual, but we might let you get back to work, I think, buddy. When that video came out, we all sort of, you beauty, she's going to happen. It is very much. I was intrigued with the shape, like how you sort of explained. I thought, how is he going to get an extra 20 feet into a boat without all the curves being awkward? But obviously with the straight sides, as you said, it just worked out pretty smooth. So yeah.
Yeah, look, I couldn't be happier with the actual look of the actual lines and how it's all come together. It's really good. It's exactly what I'd hoped for. It takes a bit of getting your head around. Like we were actually able to a bit of clever computer analysis from Mark Hughes from Black Pond over the road here, right opposite us. You guys all know Black Joe, so
Yep.
So Mark uses his kind of computer guru that is just very, very clever with all this stuff. So we were actually able to, before we cut the bow off, we flipped the boat upside down. We used the boat as a mould. So we took a part of boat from the cut line. The top sides had to go back 10 metres, even though the middle part was only 4 metres wide. So it has like a V shape in the bottom of the hull where the top side fairing rolls around the chine and under the middle of the boat. So that part provided us like a triangular section. So at the chain plates, the boat is about 400 mil wider to fair into the new part. So same thing at the back. So we built the new transom and stern extension over the bottom of the boat, cut it in half, squashed it together by 80 mil for the thickness on each side, joined it back on the boat. So we had no big moulds to make. we were able to, and we'd put down the inner skin and the core, then move the parts to the new location, and then vacuum the outer skin and the attachment laminate all in one hit. So we sort of needed all of last year to come up with the most economical and the smartest way to do it and keep the weight down, etc. So the actual whole extension's only about 1.6 tonne of additional weight. So that's it's been it's a pretty effective change.
So what sort of lap did you do? Like, are you just doing a wet lap, or were you doing in pre-preg? No,
can't really do pre-preg. We haven't got an oven big enough.
So I was wondering. It looks warm there, though. It looks like you could probably do it just with the heat that's in there at the moment.
Well, we still need to cook it once we finish the transom. So probably end of next week, we've still got to cook the thing to about 50 C for 16 hours. So it's not pre-preg temperature, but yeah, we did everything in a wet layup with Gurit epoxy and carbon, and there's about 2.5 mil skin thickness on the outside, about 7 layers outside and 5 layers inside, which is it's the same laminate as you'd have on any 100-footer. Apart from Comanche, of course, it's got the monolithic bow with no core.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Have you put any monolithic sections in there at all for slamming?
No, I think the main thing was the engineer Brett Ellis wanted to keep the structure the same throughout. So because we were retaining the other parts, he wanted it to, lining it all up and making the thicknesses work, and without having ramps on the inside and outside skin, was just better to go for a 40 mil hull core and 35 mil top sides and 25 mil deck.
Plus, it's going to be downwind anyway. So,
well, one of the things about big carbon boats is you get a lot of creaking noises and stuff. Do you reckon, middle of the night, smoking down first ride, you're in 25, 30 knots. Do you reckon the noises will sound different, or you're fully trusting your cut and shuts? You've got no stress at all?
Look, I think we've probably gone a little bit overboard rather than, we did ask, to make sure we had, if anything, one more layer than one less. It's always pretty nervous when you go and put 18 tonne on the backstay for the first time. And you do invariably get a few sort of, because one tiny little ping and everyone, starts running scared. But, I think it'll be fine. And, I trust the designers and all their analysis and what they've given us. So
have you spoken about that whole testing, like doing a pull down test and a bunch of those things yet, or you haven't quite got there yet?
We haven't really talked about it, Bicey. Obviously, we'll be doing that in the safety of the of Moreton Bay or the marina.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Structurally, I mean, there's a fair bit of data for those guys knowing the panel areas and how like our longitudinal floor beams are 0.5 metre high with 20 carbon unis on the top of the cap. It's pretty big, pretty serious structure. So they've run through and we've put a couple of additional frames in the bow. To actually, because of course, as the length goes up, speed goes up, your slamming load goes up. So we have to use some of the panel areas a little bit with some additional stringers and bulkheads. So, look, they're all over that. So,
and kind of like we spoke, like this all goes through GL as well. And, exactly. You've got the right team behind you from that point of view. So
cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool.
Shit up.
Shut up, mate. We're all watching with interest.
Bloody oath.
Exciting stuff.
Awesome. And, mate, Warwick, best of luck. We'll be in touch anyway, because we're watching with the bated breath.
We're going to Hobart. Best of luck, mate.
Good on you, Wharo. Thanks, mate.
Good to speak to you. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Certainly not going to die wondering, is Wharo. I'll tell you that.
No.
Mate. And I was actually trying to think, I think I've done 3 or 4 Hobarts with the wild thing, under the wild thing or Scandia livery. So with Grant and his team, and there was, and as alluded to after the call, like there was a lot of things we could have diverted on with a few of those stories. And maybe I'll just keep them up our sleeve to when we record live off of the boat during the Hobart. But some bloody good stories there. And this man just takes it on.
Absolutely
takes it on.
One of the
there's always a character to have around at the end of the race too. It's great to sit down and have a couple of quiet beers with him and talk about the day.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Well, I'm interested, with this whole approach. How he sort of he's going and hunting around for all the stuff, and getting the sales in, getting the mast. The whole process. He's I don't know. I'm just trying to think what the right word is. He's going as far as he can with what he's got, I guess, is the thing. And one thing that sort of obviously pulling that whole team together, obviously as we get closer to the Hobart, the whole partnership with Radix Nutrition that we've got will come in for a lot of people. And obviously the hundreds will go through a lot of the nutrition needs, and trying to keep the weight out of the boat, you'll be able to just go with our friends at Radix because you've got balanced nutrition anywhere. So it's a perfect solution for the
It's
Hobart.
all about the balance. Correct.
The balance. It is about the balance.
The boat's about the balance. Nutrition's about the balance. I wonder if you could cut and shut it a bit of Radix.
That is probably the funniest thing, I reckon, because you could, instead of going the Mexican chili, you could go the Mexican chili blueberry shake. You could just
all the peri banana protein.
Oh dear.
But it's true what you say. It's perfect for the Sydney to Hobart. So the people, all those listening in doing the Sydney to Hobart, get on board and give it a crack.
Yep. So Radix Nutrition, just jump on the website, and when you go to buy, just throw in the Bar Karate code, Bar Karate, and so one word, Bar Karate, and you will get a discount from listening to the show. So enjoy. Happy days. Other events, boys. We've got a lot going on. Like this week, it's just like the emails coming in from everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's like something's. I think you alluded to it before the show. There was some sort of email filter going on due to world activities, and then all of a sudden she's just opened up and Bushka.
It's
like, yeah, we're on.
They've come from everywhere.
Yeah.
Mick Doherty, g'day champs. Just want to plug our regatta if that's okay. Portland Yacht Club.
Mighty Mick. Yep. Mighty Mick. Good love hearing from you, Mick.
Portland Yacht Club in Victoria, regatta. Open to all classes, juniors, off the beach, trailers, sports boats and keel boats. Kicks off with a short offshore race from Port Fairy to Portland for the big boats, and 2 days racing around Portland Bay for everyone. A big festival on, it's in conjunction with, so it'll be a ton of fun. November 3rd to 5th at portlandyachtclub.com.au for details on the book. What else? Oh, Sammy H, the Balmain Regatta. So just a heads up that the historic Balmain Regatta is in Sydney, Sunday, October 29. Details below. And thanks for your episode last week with Predict Win founder. Let him know that I downloaded the app straight afterwards. Keep up the good work. Good on you. That works.
Good on you, Sammy Hunt.
So Balmain Regatta there'll be at least 30 entrants in classic and modern work boat convoy, a fleet of 8 Cuda boats, the James Craig modern yachts, at least one hysterical, which is a historical 18 for those who don't know the Aussie lingo, sailing skiff, and the replica of the Britannia Ian Smith has been working on. So Balmain, that's if you're in Sydney, it's a good one. So jump onto that one, and he's got a lot of detail there, so we'll just keep going. But the other events that I find of interest is next week, to pay our mind, is the 27 to 30 October, so a week and a bit, the Royal Yachting Association National Match Racing Grand Finals at Queen Mary Sailing Club. And then the Skiff Fest, boys.
The Skiff Fest.
Yeah, Skiff Fest 24. The B14s, the Javelins, the Musto Skiffs are having all their champs together and calling it the Skiff Fest at Port Phillip Bay Safety Beach Sailing Club, 2nd to 7th January. Good luck to all the players on the Skiff Fest. I've always had a soft spot for the B14. I have no idea. As a young fella, I remember growing up watching the Javelins flying around on Swan River. So it should be a good one. So that's it. The Wasp Games, boys.
The games.
Yeah.
Here we go.
10 to 15 December in Sorrento. Happy days. So that's another one. So people coming from all around the world for the Wasp Games, they do a great show. So if you're into a bit of falling and you want to go and you're in the region, jump on board and head on down to that one. So yeah, I just thought, any other events, boys? All good?
All good.
Okay, cool. Got them in the water. Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. Oof.
Now, before we start with this, Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week, to all those smart asses out there who wrote in about the bloody logo, check it out. Check it out now.
Yeah.
Shove that in your pipe. I'm changing it now on a weekly basis, and I think you'll find it's now located in the upper left-hand corner of what the allocation could be. So, how's your OCD going now?
Was that? I think Scott Patton was the one that just was the most aggressive. I think he was one.
Yeah,
of them.
Exactly. So I've done it specifically for Scott. So where everyone log into Spotify, I think you'll find there's plenty of dead space in the bottom right-hand corner.
So it does suit a theme. So remember, if you do enter this, every month we're going to award with Listener of the Month, and you get a $200 voucher from our friends at Vycobi. So we've got a lot of stuff coming. We're getting inundated with Land Rover stuff. The people obviously love your Bice because they're sending a heap in. So all the Land Rover fans, Jeff Cooper did send us the Land Rover Regatta, where he's found all these Land Rovers basically sailing across the outback, I guess, or the countryside in England. That was pretty full bore, and they look like there must have been some certain deaths in some of that footage that turned up. Tristan Beatty with the electric one. Did you see that one yet?
What one? The electric one.
Electric Land Rover. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that was cool. Then the other thing of the love for Bice was we've got on the Insta user aggressors of the multi-holes. Just sent some footage. They had some onboard footage from Sail GP. So it's a good minute of onboard footage from Sail GP, and it's just beep, 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 beep.
The banter.
Yeah,
the banter.
I'd fit right in.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then the interesting one, our mate Robbie from Tassie, Rob Cumin, the Orcas organising, he's noticed the Orcas.
Yeah, no, I did see this. This was an interesting one.
The Orcas they've moved their camp essentially.
Yeah, they've been spotted off the Australian coastline, East Coast.
Yes, there's actually, I just saw during the week in a bit of news footage that they'd attacked a great white, a man in a grey suit, and sent him up on the beach with the way they do, the Orcas. So they're currently located around the Bass Strait somewhere.
What's going on?
Well, word's out. They know the Hobart's coming to town. The Sunfish Union and the Orcas, they've got together.
You reckon they've got together?
The
Sunfish has called them up, invited them down.
Yeah, invited them down. They've formed a coalition. They're going in. They're going hard.
They're definitely playing their cards at the moment. They seem to be everywhere.
Yeah,
I love it.
Lucky they can't walk on land, otherwise we'd all be stuffed to be taking us out.
It is
Tough
very interesting. So the other one that we've got is Grant Wharington, who's he sent me a bunch of messages on Messenger, and he's prone to sending the old messages. I've known Grant for a long time. It's probably coming up 30 years now. He's mad for his moth sailing, but he's also one of the main players in the 18-foot skiff world, and he was grateful that we gave him a bit of a plug. And then he started throwing questions at me about, all the falling regattas lately, the amount of wet riding versus dry riding, where, a lot of them dragging around in the water because they're going to events like Sail GP, it's been some light wind events, and we're into Dubai, I think, in the next week or two, whether there'll be enough wind there. Its average wind strength there is, at this time of year, 7 knots. The America's Cup, all that, and then the Moth Worlds, all the falling stuff. And then for the listeners, after we spoke to Wharo, after we finished the recording, we ended up talking at quite long term about falling keel boats, and some of the we really should record this stuff. I tell you, there was some interesting things.
Patreon, we got to go on Patreon for sure.
But it made me
keep
think:
saying it.
are we getting it wrong?
We're always getting it wrong.
Well,
Do tell.
okay. So I'm obviously love Sail GP, love the Cup, love all the sailing. Like with the foiling stuff, like when you watch the 18s, I was watching the foiling. So I was watching Sail GP during the week, and then I was watching the 18s, right? And obviously the 18s are at full speed, foiling, they're dragging around. The notion behind Sail GP and the Cup and all those stuff with the stadium racing, and it's exciting, and it's just not exciting. And
Compared to 18s.
no, compared to just the course. I was trying to think, and am I right? I'm willing to be wrong here. With the stadium racing, it's same again, right? We're getting to see the same stuff again and again.
Yep.
When you go and put it on a course, there's a lot more variation and there's a lot more tension because, that shift over there, that's happening here, there. So there's more to be seen. Like there's more strategy, there's more thought process going in, there's more dynamics in the racing. And I was just wondering, are we getting, with the way we're trying to condense it into a stadium, I think I'm not so worried about the foiling element. I think, just put them in windy environments.
We know they foil now.
When we spoke to Liv about this, like it's almost like the chessboard with that limited stadium racing courses and the amount of maneuvers that you can do around the course. So it's probably quite predictable in that sense.
Yeah. Well, look at Cardiff last weekend.
Repetitive in that respect. Also, whereas I hear what you're saying, and I actually watched a bit of the the 16s this week.
Yeah.
They put out a video,
the course,
and super dynamic in that regard.
Yeah.
So,
why did?
Oh, sorry, Becky.
Yeah, we could have. No, I can say you could still have stadium racing, but have mark A, B, C, D, and just have them going around the place. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I think just a wider playing field though. Like you can have stadium racing, but the wider playing field, you can. It's like motor racing. Like everyone sits in the stands and they see one small part of the race course. With sailing, we can still see the whole course, but. You could have stands and views, and you use a bit of TV, drone footage and stuff. It's easy to do, but bring the more dynamic course into it. And I just wonder if that's what's going on. Like, I mean, I love my sailing and I watch everything, but it's becoming a bit same. And I don't know, are others feeling that as well? And so. And it was just the fact that I watched the 18s next to the Sail GP, and then because it was a much more broader course and there was more room, it was more interesting for me because there was more strategy going on.
Is it like watching the Dakar Rally versus Formula One?
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Is that any sort of comparison?
Or Dakar Rally, Formula One to NASCAR.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're on.
There's a good analogy.
Yeah, that is a great analogy.
Yeah, high five yourself, BP.
Yeah, don't poke yourself in the eye.
No. Seppo bullshit the West Indians introduced into the game.
Anyway, it's a discussion. If anybody wants to give some feedback on it, it's just a thought that popped into my head as I was writing down our sort of thoughts for this morning.
One of the races in a Sail GP event could be a little bit of a course event.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, just a bit of variety. Throw it in there. I think it'd be interesting, like the Wallies do. There's plenty. They do the slalom, they do the course racing. The Wasps do the same thing, the marathon.
I'm all over it. I reckon it'd be great to bring a little bit more tactical back into it.
I agree.
After,
yeah,
we are tacticians,
and you know what the other one is?
Not tacticians as such, but we like that side of it.
There's one thing we've moved away from. It's all the same. You know what I'd like to see, and match racing are nearly there. Putting the top sailors in different boats at different venues. So match racing, you do that, right? But have a fleet race with the top sailors you could actually combine the two. That's just thinking about it.
Mate, Mars will retire now.
I reckon so.
I'm desperately trying to. Oh, I love it. Anyway, right, reach out to us.
What did we get on YouTube this week? Did we get $1.20, $1.30?
Just reach out to us at cheers@barkarati.com and give us your thoughts.
Ole, 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 ole. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
It's hot time with Bice.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
All right, boys. Plenty going on in the world at the moment, not just from a sailing point of view, but definitely from a political point of view. So questions are out there at the moment about a couple of events coming up, including maybe not Sail GP as such, but mate, who knows? Who knows? But AC40 in Jeddah.
Yeah.
I look, seriously hope not, but there's a much higher priorities going on at the minute that need to be sorted, and which includes the safety of everyone. But just going back to Sail GP, we've spoken about it previously. I'm not going to mention what it is. Next week when it's confirmed, we'll say we told you so. But we're going to see a bit of a movement amongst one of the teams coming up in the next couple of weeks. So for those that are avid listeners, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But we don't want to put it out there before any of the main press do. But stand by on that news. Rightio, men. What's going on? Say, what's that? The Ocean Globe race is coming to an end.
As we record, literally.
As we're recording, it's gone live on the tracker. This is on Friday morning we're recording. The first few boats are only a matter of a few miles away. Well,
28.3 nautical miles for
specifically the first boat.
Spirit of Helsinki, 28.3 miles from the finish as we record, doing 5.8 knots.
Correct. So Spirit of Helsinki is literally just come into the frame of things now, to which looks like they're going to take the line on us. With Penduik kind of leading the way the whole way down, but the Spirit of Helsinki just snuck a little bit further south, got their bow in front, so to speak, and look as though they're going to take line on us. Ahead of Penduik in second, Translator 9, which is a Swan 65 in third, and then Maiden coming in, possibly looking like fourth at this point in time. With the rest of the boats, up to still probably a week away plus. I would say at this point in time.
Boys, was Outlaw the South Australian boat with the India hat on? Is that the India we spoke to? Is that the one?
Yes, Outlaw, correct. Yeah.
Did we not talk about weather routing? And
I think they actually listened to one of your famous stories, Jordan.
My famous.
About one of the boats like literally tacking down the African coast.
Yeah.
Or coming down the African coast, and I think what was the reference? Chack on Tuesday.
Chack on a Tuesday, yeah.
Well, so
they've done the wrong route. Oh,
if you do have a look at the tracker, yeah, they did go down the African coast. Admittedly, they were driven. I wouldn't say a little bit that way, but they helped out a few people who were in a bit of strife at a certain time, which got them close to the African coast. And that's well documented on oceangloberace.com. So go check that out. But they're definitely the furthest east boat, let's say.
It's quite an interesting read that they picked him up, didn't bring him on board, but didn't take him all the way ashore. They left him still another 30 mile out to sea or something.
Yeah. Gave him some Radix nutrition. Off you go, you little fella.
Oh, yeah. Off you swim. Oh, dear. Cool. Good luck to everyone.
No, good luck. All those teams are going to have a hell of a time in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Fantastic place for a stopover.
Absolutely is.
Yep, they're going to have a beauty. Now, going to almost hand over on this Sail GP last week, boys. Saw the first win for the US team. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Got across the line. We saw the Spanish jump out of the blocks, of course, with a win in the first race. And then, but with the
Rockwell.
The US taking the Rockwell, possibly
the last day.
Well, possibly the boat of the series, I would argue, or the boat of that particular regatta or leg, let's say. But yeah, didn't quite pull it off on the last bit, but with a little bit of
You've
controversy.
Got to be happy for Jimmy.
Absolutely. But what it does see is the Aussies climb even higher up the leaderboard, which of course means fuck all come the final event. Doesn't matter how many points you're ahead. It all comes down to that final race. Win the cash, which was a lot of the commentary throughout the week. Like, how is this fair? How does it happen? Well, truth is, that's just the rules. So, taking any observations from you guys on that?
No, I got nothing. You covered it beautifully.
Yeah, no.
Rightio, boys. Let's something you sent through during the week, Jordan.
Ooh.
And if you don't mind, just talking to this in maybe 350 words or less. US sailing report. Have we ever seen anything like this previously?
It's pretty full on, isn't it?
It is very full on. It absolutely
Big inquiry.
Is full on. So they had, for those who haven't listened, it's just been released. We've only got a sort of watered down version, but even the watered down version is pretty damning. So there's been a sort of the some of the leadership of US sailing, and sailors made complaints about behaviours, and there was retaliation, and there was an investigation as to whether any of this was true. And basically, it's found that US sailing did participate fully within this investigation, and that it was found that the athletes' complaints indicate that certain former members of the team's leadership exhibited wrongful behaviour, including publicly disparaging an athlete and inaccurately directing any ire in the sailing community regarding leadership change towards that athlete, caused significant detrimental personal and financial consequences to the athlete, and they engaged in recurring retaliatory conduct to athletes in response to them raising concerns about Olympic operations, harming at least one athlete and contributing to others being afraid to speak up in fear of retribution. It goes on and on and on. Certainly worth a look, but Jesus, that's not good.
No. I think you guys would agree. We just hope it's good outcome. It sorts itself out without damning the sport. So let's hope that is going to be the case.
Damning an already sort of you wouldn't want to use the word struggling, but battling US sailing team. I mean, they're getting better from a powerhouse. Yeah, from a powerhouse to where they are at the moment. They've got to take everything, and once something like this happens, it's not good.
Let's hope they pull out. Now, the other one, boys.
So maybe the uniforms will sort them out.
That was the Brits.
They've got some nice ones as well.
Don't worry. They'll be running the Star Spangled Banner on their tracksuits.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about that.
You worry. Red pants.
100%. Now, due to time of recording, we don't have any results, but at time of listening, you can all go check it out. The Coastal Classic, the Great Race, as they call it. Do they call it the Great Race in NZ?
It's a Coastal Classic, isn't it? It's a classic race.
Oh, mate, it's an absolute classic. And we're literally watching the tracker as we speak, and they've just taken off from Auckland. Spoke to a few of the boys yesterday in NZ who are doing it on 50-footer. They had a 10-hour routing. So quick race. Yep. Had a look at the weather via Predict Wind. It was basically on the beam. So, and then running into Russell. So not necessarily the most comfortable racing to be done. And plenty of breeze, but definitely doesn't matter with a little 5-minute jaunt up the coast. So they'll be fine. 5-minute jaunt
up the coast, yes. Well, I'm obviously watching it with keen interest as one of my boats is racing, and namesake of our sponsor. The boat is called Radix Nutrition. So Radix Nutrition is doing the race.
Are you getting any data off the boats?
Yes.
What's the story? What do you got?
Not off the boat, what's the latest?
Well, the latest is quite exciting, actually. The split, the Division 2 they're in. So we're going to talk about them for a second. There's been a massive split. There's been a breakaway. 10 boats have got out. 10 boats have got out and about 5 miles in front. 10 boats have got out and about 3, 4, 5 miles in front. One of those is Radix.
Okay, what speed they're doing? Because when we last spoke, they're doing 0.2 of a knot.
Yeah, right now 7.1.
Oh, things have changed.
Lead 7.1, and the motorboat. The motorboat. We won't go to him. Then push this little blue button here. and the leader is doing 6.9. So, and they're in 10th place. So out of 30, not bad.
Cool. Best of luck to everyone competing.
Want to follow it, if you do want to follow the race, sorry, just because this is pretty exciting. Live Sail Die are doing a pretty good coverage of it, and Predict Win Tracker. You can watch it. You can watch it there.
So that's at. Well, actually, by the time of listening, you're not going to get stuff all because the race will be over.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
About that,
just go to Live Sail Die, and they'll give you the wrap up and tell you who got in trouble up in Russell and who got the best on ground.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
No, that's it. That's me, boys.
What about the Cape 31 that turned up in Adelaide?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
My mistake. Sorry, Julian Newton. Brand new Cape 31 has rolled into town in Adelaide. Went down and had a look at it. Slick looking machine, let me tell you. Super slick. So, Julian Newton. So I believe, Game On. Of Game On fame,
of course.
had previous boats. What was the sports boat? BP.
Is it Thompson 8 or something?
Thompson.
Yeah, Thompson.
And then the McConaughey 38. Now the Cape 31. So appropriately named.
I think he's going to find himself in that
Game On 3-1.
Yeah.
31.
I think the 31 is a better boat for him. I think you will enjoy that a lot.
Well, so as mentioned, time of recording Friday morning, due for their first sail tomorrow, which is Saturday, and she is going to be stonking here tomorrow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if no one goes sailing tomorrow. So, which could be interesting with the Great Southern Regatta taking place tomorrow.
I go back to BP's point? It's the right boat for Julian, and refer to on the book. Tristan Beatty asking the question, was this a boat bought with the AI boat pairing technology Nick Bice brought to the table a while back on Barkarati?
Yeah, basically. Send money.
Yeah.
No, caught up with the guys, putting the boat together. They've got the stick in. They'll be bringing the boat around to the yacht club today. There's going to be plenty of keen eyes having a look at it. But I, for one, will be heading down to cast my eye over it to see it in the flesh. So, and that's going to be a great addition to not only the club, but to the state. And who knows? Could this be the start of something big to come to SA? Who knows?
Would be good.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Rightio, lads.
Last thing I'll mention, just as we go, is of all the cup teams naming their youth and female members, and the Australian team got named last night. Quite a few Barkarati alumni on there, so that's good.
Alumni.
17 sailors. Congratulations.
We might have to send them their certificates.
Yeah, I love it. But anyway, best of luck. Go and have a check because it's sort of boring conversation, but yeah.
It's a good team.
It's a good team. There'll be some good sailors.
Yep.
It's a good team. Yeah, it should be fun. So good luck to those teams. Obviously disadvantage not having a boat to sail on, but get into that simulator. I think I'm in Sydney in a couple of weeks, so I'd want clear access to the simulator so I can set times and performance levels.
Wondered, does it actually have like a sliding seat? So you can slide your seat back for your long ballerina legs to fit in and touch the pedals. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can convert it for the cyclor position. So you sort of got to stand half up with your bum in the face of the person behind you,
just to get prepared for the future.
I love it. Cool. All right. Cool, lads. I think that's us. So let's call it there and wish everyone a great week. Good chat. We're all going sailing this weekend, I think. So if it's not blowing out, but best of luck.
Yeah. See you, boys.
Contribute at cheers@barkarati.com. We'd love to hear from you because you can, of course, win the voucher from Vycobi. And remember, our friends at Radix Nutrition made up a new name. Radix Nutrition, and use the code BARKARATI to get your discount when you order your food for your next major regatta.